Welcome everybody, welcome back to the Tomb of Illumination. What I would call a random video because it's out of the blue for me. I've had it on the board here for a couple of weeks. I've just added a few things to it. I just want to scrub it to do this interesting video I'm planning on doing. So I thought I'd better get this out there, share it with someone before I rubbed it off the wall. And the funny thing is I had all this on the board here, and then just a couple of days ago up popped that guy Hanvey. Is it Joe Hanvey or something? Getting a bit of traction with his basically he was just, it was my information initially, how all the 24-hour sun worked with the refraction, I called reflections, projections cast out around the southern hemisphere. So he did well there to replicate it in images people could see, and now he's trying to do the moon phasing. So, and once again, the way I see it, it looks like someone's taken my information again. He denies it, but that's okay. I don't mind sharing all my information. If I didn't want to share it, I wouldn't be putting it out there. I'm not getting paid for it. I just want to share it with people. But he's got it all back to front. So I thought I'd better do another video on the moon cycles and explain how it all works. I mean, I've had all this information out there for years, and this guy Hanvey guy is getting traction. God knows why, considering I've had all the information out there for years. But I think people just see an old guy with a whiteboard and think he's a flippin' dipshit, when I'm the only guy out there who's got all the information, all the physics of the earth. I don't drop it all on YouTube because people just aren't awake to accepting it. So I put it over on Patreon, where I know people are interested because they're paying me for the information. So you guys are getting a freebie here. So let's get into it. There's a few things I'm going to mention here. Before they slip my mind. You've got to understand all of creation concerns the vortex, a central vortex of creation, which is all hidden in the Arctic center. It's all hidden. Now, if you want to go deep, because there's a lot of people out there who want to understand our realm spiritually, cosmologically, metaphysically. There's a lot of information in this book. It's mind-boggling. I know this stuff, and he's touching on the physiological effects the above has on the man, and it all comes back to the brain. Our whole realm is based on the brain. So all the energy is projected out of our brain, just like it is with the flat earth system. Everything is projected out of the center Arctic. Okay, so read this book. Mind-blowing. If you want to follow through with stuff like this, you need to get on my Patreon. Get on to Saints. I'm going to be discussing all this stuff, or I've mentioned in the past anyway. But I'm only halfway through this book. And what I've revealed over the years is basically in this book. So I've got complete confirmation from what's happening in this book. But they've given a lot more information than I've given. To do with the human brain and the connections to the Bible. All along I've been telling people the Bible is the physics of the earth. So what you've got to understand is our whole earthly realm, like I've stated before in my maybe Patreon, that we live in this brain. It's a brain. And everything that happens in the world happens within our bodies. Nothing in the world happens without happening within our body. Now I had a picture here. Oh, here it is. You've been following me for years. You might have seen this image. I put this up years ago. That's where we live. We live inside this image here. Looks like a sea anemone. Well, everything in creation out in our physical realm represents something of creation, and then you have a sea anemone, And a lot of all the biblical stories are all about the sea. They consider the sky as the sea. The solar boat, the Egyptians, the solar boat, that curve that goes across the sky, carries the sun across the sky. What's that? Well, that's the Milky Way. The curve, we see it the other way around, this way. Everything is perpendicular. Creation, everything in the physical world is perpendicular to creation. Just bear that in mind. So you've got the centre northern hemisphere. Everything comes out of the centre northern hemisphere, expands out to the south, and then returns. So everything's coming out of the north, but then it's returning. So they think, well, how can it be coming out and going in? Well, this is when you have to understand the infinity symbol and the split sail system, why Earth is dual. It comes out of the centre Arctic, over to Cancer, drops straight down, into the ground, along the ground thou shalt go, up out of the Arctic, over to Capricorn, straight down, along the ground thou shalt go, eat of the dust of all thy days, up and over. That's the cycle. So it's coming out, and then it's coming back in. Coming out, coming back in. That's the way it works. The snake represents the magnetic field, be it within man or the earth. Like I said, nothing happens out here that doesn't happen within here. The centre Arctic is the centre of your brain. The centre of your brain is the centre Arctic. Just in the picture there. Okay? Where was I going with that? I don't know. I'm lost now. Anyway, understanding the central vortex of creation, hidden in the centre Arctic. We can't go back to creation. We can't see creation. It's behind the veil. Okay? So imagine a centre vortex. A lot of you would have followed my videos, understanding the flat Earth system. The centre vortex in the Arctic. You've got to picture it like this. So I've drawn the ecliptic plane plenty of times, right? And here's another way of understanding it, is you've got the upside down pyramid. So we've got the sun down here. Well, imagine this is the 3D vortex below the flat plane, the 2D plane at the top. I've always drawn the circular 2D plane with the circles of the planets and everything, doing their own, sticking with their own cycles, because they basically represent the 7 inert gaseous layers. They don't move off their course. And through our earthly system, everything's being recycled up through the tropical gap, gets sucked through the Milky Way over to the centre Arctic, the real plasma sun. That's the purification system, and then trickles down from there as mist into the Arctic centre, and then goes back through the Buford Gaia to the subterranean aqueduct system. They just come back up. It's just always recycling. So everything starts from the 2D plane, then expands out into this 3D realm. And once that 3D realm was created below the 2D plane back at creation, that was the creation of our realm. We're an extended version of that 3D realm. So anyway, to understand the planet cycles, you draw them like this. So you've got way out here, you've got Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Venus, Mercury. Then you've got the Sun. Okay? And the overall cycle for the moon and stars is like this. And there's your S-curve within the vortex. You can create any vortex you like, as big as you like, as wide as you like, but you'll only have one S-curve cycle, main S-curve cycle, where everything winds up to the top in an S, and then comes back down in an S. And that S, in the 2D plane, from a 2D plan, you've got a golden ratio. But the returning cycle, that's 2. Put them both together, you've got an apple, which is a cardanoid. Golden ratio is a half cycle. It's phi, a half cycle of the cardanoid. Now, if you get a ring magnet, which is Earth is like a ring magnet, the centre hole is the Arctic centre, the hidden place. So imagine we are part of the magnet, but not that hole in the centre. That's the place of inaccessibility. That's where creation is hidden. You go and move, let's say you put a ring magnet under a sheet of white paper and put some iron sand on there and keep moving it around like this. You keep coming up with this image here. It's the golden ratio. You know, it's the G. All the Freemasons know all about this, don't they? Right? And you keep moving it around, and you always come out with this half field of the iron sand, which would represent the your eyebrows, the human eyebrows, because the eye's magnetic, see? Well, they say one's magnetic, one's electrical, one represents the moon, one represents the sun. But we're basically reading the magnetic field, and our brain gives us the images. Okay? So, little magnets. And there's your eyebrow, the iron sand. Iron sand represents the eyebrow. But anyway, this initial drawing is all about the moon cycles. I've done it plenty of times before, but each time I do it is a different aspect, a different way of looking at things. So I've drawn this. Let's see if I can remember what the heck I've done here. Winding back into the center as the sun's directed energy, Milky Way, catches up to the moon. Okay, so the sun is always quickest. It's 15 degrees per hour. The moon is only 13.18 degrees per hour overall, if you work it out monthly. Some people say it's 2 something, but it's no. It's 13.8, or I can't remember. Some other people say it's 12 minutes or something. 13.18, yeah. And then you've got the stars, of course. The stars are 4 minutes a day slower than the sun. Don't believe the science you're taught, okay? Just don't. Unless you want to stay a drongo the rest of your life. So this way, one way you look at it, you've got the cardinal overall cycle of the moon. You've got the 1/2 golden ratio coming out to full moon. Then it goes back in again. So you draw the moon like this. You can draw it on the inside track for coming out, which is in the daylight side. The daylight side? Either or. You've got a daylight side, daylight moon half cycle. Then you've got the night side half moon cycle. Okay? So think of one's outside on the field, one's inside, because you've got to think, look, returning cycle. On the sun side, sunny side of the back, or the back side of the sun. So you've got to think of the sun, when they come out at new moon, they come out together, right? But like I said, the sun is quicker, so the sun races ahead, leaving the moon behind. So there's 1/2 cycle on the night side, 1/2 cycle on the day side. So this is why we're getting these curves on the moon, the crescents, the phasing is to do with the curving magnetic field. And then you've got to consider this curving magnetic field as the S curve here around the center core. Back here again, same thing. Coming back to the center core is the new moon coming back into the center, because the sun represents the center, or just off center. That's the black hole center, stretched out in the 3D, comes back to a plane. Everything collapses back to a flat plane, remember? So there's the extension, the 3D extension of the 2D plane. Just imagine all flattening back to 2D plane. So there's a plan view looking down. You've got the spiral of the moon, blah, 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 all the way into the center core here as it winds out every day for a month. But imagine there's only one S-curve cycle in a vortex. There's a Superman sign. So they all know, they're all Freemasons, know all this stuff, they just don't want you to know it. And the sun's offset, there's the black hole center. So let's say this is the 2D ecliptic plane. On top here, looking down. If you look down, you see the golden ratio, half cycle, but then it's got to come back up again. So you complete the whole S here. 2 S's create the cardanoid. Cardanoid here. Okay. So this side we've got the moving away from the sun of creation, because the sun's racing ahead, and then the sun catches up. So the sun doesn't quite catch up. Just like it doesn't quite catch up to the stars over 1 year. Almost laps them, but doesn't quite catch them. And with the stars, because it doesn't quite catch them, it's dropping back each year. And as the sun drops back each year, it exposes that much more stars, which are the constellations, or, you know, precession of the equinoxes, precessing. Because the sun's dipping back each year. Doesn't quite catch the stars every year. It's pretty self-explanatory, very easy, but everybody's been misled, falsely indoctrinated. The moon moves out and away from the center of the ecliptic plane. Winds out, right out to here, see? As the sun's direct energy moves on ahead by 52 minutes per day. So as the sun moves away from the, well, you've got to imagine, not that sun, that just does circles. That's the real sun, hidden in the Arctic. But the projected image right out here, projected out, as the sun turns, you know, in the system here, as the sun fires ahead, leaving the moon behind, the moon drifts out. It drifts away. It hasn't got the magnetic pull. As the sun approaches it again, catches up to it, the sun is drawn back in. Okay? So the sun is going around, and inside there is the moon too. If you take it all, shrink it all back, I've just expanded it all out. So that, imagine the sun's projected as a clock all the way around, catching up to the moon. You just understanding the moon just spirals all the way out to full moon, and then it comes back in again. And it's due to the sun. The sun turns too, right? You know, you're not taught that. It's turning, just like all the planets are turning. The sun is on the inside track here. You know, you got Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. That's how it works. As the sun catches up to the moon by racing ahead to almost lap the moon is drawn back into the center of the ecliptic plane. To new moon with the sun. They get it on together right in here, drawn in, because at the end of the day the moon is the other half of the sun. The magnetism of the electromagnetic induction, the phi ratio difference between the two hemispheres, the tropical gap, the magnetic induction. The sun is created from this magnetic induction. The sun comes from the magnetic, from the female, but there's a ratio, there's a difference in energy. So the sun is magnetism, and so like we know in music, one note will cancel out another, the same note will cancel out that note. Sort of, you know, like it's hidden. The other one is hidden. So this is what happens when the moon and the sun come in close together. The electromagnetism within the sun cancels out the moon. So to say it's the moon frequency is within the sun frequency. So you're not going to hear both of them, are they? Both the same. You're going to hear one, which is the sun. Male and female. Cancels out the female, the moon. So you don't see the moon. What do we got here? The negative moon is out. Yeah. Okay. The negative moon is out in the 3D cycle, while The positive sun sits on the 2D throne above. So he's the king of the castle, right? The male king of the castle sits up on the 2D plane. And so look at this, you flip this upside down, we have in the physical realm, we have the Great Pyramid of Khufu. Khufu's the pyramid of the moon, it's the other one. Khepri is the sun. Yeah, long story with that, but I've got old videos on that. I have a lot of really good old videos, and I'm not sure if they're on YouTube. I think I took the really good ones down and put them on a disc ready to upload to my Patreons who pay me, so I know they're dedicated, they'll understand it more. But I haven't even got round to downloading a lot of them yet. So if you're interested in the stuff, be sure to join up. It's only to join the Saints, it's $20 a month, Kiwi. Not much, considering, you know, you pay $5-6 for a flipping coffee each morning. But I have a lot of supporters who are helping me, supporting me in my YouTube videos, which I've neglected lately. I'm very sorry, people. But I try to share a lot of stuff with you guys on Patreon, but you're not responding to any of my comments. Like, I've got 125 Patreons and only 5 or so ever correspond with my uploads, comment. So I don't think a lot of you are seeing what's on there. Okay, so what have we got here? Tropical gap, 10,000 kilometers. This was another story. This is another video here. Understanding all this. I've forgotten about this stuff, but anyway, you've got to think of man's arc of horizon, 180 degrees, and he stands 90 degrees to its zenith. Okay, so in the earthly system, it's 10,000 kilometers from there to there, and from there to there. So it's a little bit more here, but just ignore that. 10,000 kilometers. 10,000. Well, 9. The cycles are 1 to 9. 10 is renew. So you go 1 to 9, 90 degrees, and you start again. The other hemisphere, 1 to 9. Like I said, nothing happens on Earth that doesn't happen within man. The seasonal changes on Earth are seasonal changes within man. His brain, the planets, everything is working on the human body. We are of the Earth. There's another image here. 9. 9 is in here. It's the ultimate number, the holy number 9. Right in there, right in the center, core, coming home. Moon comes in and goes in like that, and then out again like that. On a hole. Otherwise it's just spiraling daily like this, all the way in and all the way out. So 10 is the returning cycle, 1 to 9 again. And then I thought of the Pythagoras said was talking about the divinity of the number 3, and we know Tesla talks about 369, and my earlier videos went all over 369. And you find with the eight phasings of the moon that the ancients show us, it's 3.69 days between each phasing when you work it out before it goes into here. Over the, I think it was the 29.52 days. 29.52 days to here, but you're losing the 2.2 days in here. Or I should say from new moon to full moon is the 29.52, but you take it back to the 27 something or other. How many days was it? 27.142 or something. Because you got 2.2 days lost in here. We don't see the moon. So let's go back to 3, the divine number of 3. The car parked out on the road looking at me, I don't know why. 3 equals the cornerstone the builders rejected, which is 1/4 of the zodiac. Everything boils back to the zodiac, guys. It's all in that book I showed you. We've got 3 in the morning, AM, the whole story of Jesus. Time of the full moon, Pisces. Then you go into 6. 6, you got Virgo, the 6th zodiac sign of the zodiac. 6th day of creation. That's all connected to the 303, the whole divine story of man's awakening. And when Earth is balanced, man is balanced mentally, the Earth is balanced in its yearly cycle. 6th month, 6th month, 6 months, 6 month, Virgo, from Aries. Then you go into 7. Why we have the calendar the way it is at the moment. And you've got to realise 7, sept is 7, right? And moonth, 7th moonth, gives, the moon gives her 1/7 for this divine rebirth. The whole meaning to life is to do with the moon. Your full moon in the sign of your conception. And the Egyptians beginning their calendar is the first week of September. Or they say it's the 11th of September, but you take the 6th day of creation, and somewhere along the line someone's added the 5 holy days, which makes it 11. And there's 5 holy days at this time of rest, where the ecliptic plane is dead flat. It's not in declination for seasonal change up into the north or down to the south. So I think the Freemasons, where they called them Freemasons back in the early days, but all boils back to the system, religion, cosmology. Why they have September as the 9th month. 9th being the holy number, right? And Sept being connected to the 7th. The moon gives her 7th. And this is the whole Jesus story, was the first week of September, first week of spring. Should be the beginning of our year. But there's a whole trinity involved with this. You've got to think deep how and why all this comes about. Why we've got the calendar the way it is today, and I'm not going to go into it. So anyway, what have I got here? No sun, so we see this side one way to think about this, concave, convex. You've got to imagine the moon as actually being convexed, okay? Because you've got a vortex here, and everything's projected from the dead centre outward. And you've got a circles, and all the images would be, you've got a cone, all that would be convex, plastered on that curve, and then brought out into our realm, sitting up in the sky like this. It's not flat, it's like this. Some people can look at the moon at different times and see they're not blisters, they're concave, not convex. Blisters are concaved. That's a trick of the eye, trick of the old brain. Okay, that'll do on this video, because this stuff takes, if I go over half an hour, this stuff takes ages to download onto YouTube. Ages. I want to get into this other video I'm working on. But anyway, if you like this stuff, put a thumbs up. Don't forget to share it. Get the information out there. Understanding the full moon is behind the sun. This guy Hamvy's got it there. He's drawn it all the wrong way, and people think he knows what he's talking about. The full moon is out behind the sun. Okay, and back at creation there anyway. So if the sun is facing this way, there's the sun. It's got a circle, right? And the sun. Let's say the sun's here because it shines across the black hole. There's your daylight, which means the full moon would be over here, outside. Full moon. It's got its own light. Remember? You all know that by now. And when the sun is facing out, the new moon is right back in here in the face of the sun. Right in there. So the full moon's out there and it does these cycles. Okay. Anyway, I hope to see you over here. You ask me questions and we'll talk about things. Got a group session going on there most of the time. Thanks for watching. Cheers.